Welcome to this Tuesday stream of Las Plumas de Simur. My name is Plumas and I'm gonna be your reader for today, your performer if you may, since you all love so much my performing in this reading of the Book of Kings that we shall resume. I feel it's been quite a while, or it's not been that much of a while, but I do feel it's been quite a long shot since the last time we read the Book of Kings, and it must be because I miss it so much, because I really enjoy it. And we were just about to start one of I'm not going to say it's one of my favorites, because I'm not going to say this is one of my favorite parts, because I would be lying, but definitely this is one of the best known parts of the Shāh-nāmeh. It's pretty well known. I shall get into it in a minute, but first, I need to say a big thank you to my patrons. My Patreon family is recently growing so much, and that you don't have an idea how much that helps. Actually, it's so sweet of you that you consider giving, supporting the channel and supporting these streams, because this might sound like something typical to say whenever someone supports you in any way, but you have no idea how much this helps and how much I can actually improve and dedicate to these live streams because of you. So thank you, Lucía. Thank you so much, patrons, especially those of Tier Mursid and Ashdod. And if you want to support the project on Patreon, you know the drill, patreon.com/lasplumasdesimur. There's only one Simur on Patreon, and that is probably me. I didn't realize music was still playing. So today, as I was saying before, what we're going to do is that we're going to start reading one of the most famous parts of the Shāh-nāmeh, and possibly, if I shall say this myself, one of the parts that describes the best, one of the most famous tropes within epic literature, which is the journey, the hero's journey, the journey of the hero. That was described by Joseph Campbell in The Hero of a Thousand Faces. It's an amazing book. If you haven't read it, I certainly recommend it. And the part we're starting is an arc called The Seven Trials of Rostam, which in Persian is I was going to say the Hapsin and the Happeykar. No, I completely forgot how to say this in Persian. Possibly they God knows better than me. I can only think of Happeykar, and that's the Seven Treasures. That's a completely different, because I've been reading Nizami recently. Haft Khan. Thank you. The Haft Khan, which are the seven trials of the seven labors of Rostam, in a manner that would be very similar to those of Hercules. If you read sometime Greek literature or about Greek mythology, you know that Hercules, this powerful hero, or maybe you know of him because of the Disney adaptation, equally valid, at least to me. You ask me, that's entirely valid. But these heroes need to accomplish a certain of acts, and in this case, we are going to see them carried out by who's considered to be the biggest hero of the Shāh-nāmeh. I always say this, but I stand by my words. If the Shāh-nāmeh had one protagonist, this certainly would be Rostam. Not my favorite, but it kind of understandable. I acknowledge the choice and the process, and I do not disagree with it. Definitely, Rostam is a good character and is a good protagonist. And these Iranian hero must accomplish, as I said, 7 trials, 7 labors in order to... How to explain this? It's sort of a coming-of-age situation, but you're already an adult. You're progressing as a hero, as a character, and you're developing your adulthood along the way. Throughout the way, you are actually becoming an adult. And you are facing Rostam, not you. Rostam is facing the. I love this topic, but I've never spoken about it out loud. Interesting. So, what I was saying is that these trials, these challenges, Rostam has to overcome represent certain stages of growing up, of becoming a hero, becoming a prince, because a lot is expected from Rostam. I know that, you know, the meme in this channel and the joke is that I really dislike Rostam because heroes are not my thing. Definitely not, like absolutely not my thing. But something I like to highlight whenever we're talking about Rostam is that you need to acknowledge how much is expected of him since the very beginning. Like, since he's in the belly of his mum, already a lot of the weight of half the world is put on his shoulders, because he's foreseen as the great hero. It is foretold. The stars and the skies tell of this great hero. Even Simur knows he's going to be born and how powerful and how mighty he's going to be. So basically, everyone's expectations are sitting, like observing carefully Rostam and all his acts. So there's a lot of pressure on him, and he's not that old, actually. Like, I don't know, he must be in his late teens, perhaps early 20s when he starts doing all of this. And of course, he's not alone in these challenges, because, you know, Raj, if you've been with us a little bit, you know of his mighty and loyal and loving companion, which is Raj. And Raj is a horse. It's Rostam's ride and stallion, but also friend, and as I want to say, companion. Rostam would go literally nowhere without Raj. I'm gonna fix it a bit the camera. That's much better. So I can, like, you know, lay back a little bit. So yeah, what we are going to see is how Rostam faces these challenges, and there's a variety of things he has to do, that they don't need to be necessarily physical challenges or combat challenges. No, it's like a little bit of everything. And along this way, Rostam will meet, I think I mentioned this before, but because I don't have a script, I don't know what topics I actually brought up already. But Rostam is going to face the cruelty of the world, the magic and the supernatural, because unlike his father, who was brought up in the supernatural, he's never had contact with the supernatural further than himself, because he is quite a supernatural being. And he's also going to have to confront decision making, and he will need to choose his path, and hopefully, in hopes of the entire character of the Shāh-nāmeh, he would choose the right thing to do. So we are going to start with his first trial. The poem does not linger much in Rostam's way. It goes straight to the point. To the first trial, Rash combat with a lion, because yes, Rash, something I really like about Rostam's arc is that Rash is as protagonist as Rostam is, and I think that's something super valuable. Because the poem, by the way, there's no tea today. Why, you might ask? Because I already drank too much tea at work, and it's not good for you to drink too much tea. Don't get me wrong, I love tea as much as the next guy, but I need to know the limits, you know, to maintain a healthy relationship with tea, if that's a thing. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, we are going to Rash. I was talking about Rash. Something I like of the Shāh-nāmeh is that the poem gives as much credit to Rostam as it does to Rash, and Ferdowsi understands and acknowledges. I've said that about too much on this stream already. Anyway, Ferdowsi knows that Rash has a main role to play, a key role to play in Rostam's development and story. So he's not under his shadow. He performs great deeds as well. And believe me when I say that Rostam will be literally dead if it was not for his horse. And we shall see why. Starting our reading now. Get comfortable, grab a tea, a coffee, whatever you want. Rostam rode out from Sistan in high spirits, his face flushed with joy. By riding Rash through the dark night as well as a bright day, he covered 2 days' journey in one. He's very excited. He became tired and hungry, and he saw a plain ahead of him filled with wild asses. He urged Rash forward with his thighs, something very difficult to do, but that shows that he's a very skilled rider. And the ass he fixed on Oh my god, I just heard that out loud. These are not alright. They're asses. Yes, but they're donkeys, okay? Wild donkeys. Onagas, if you may. And the ass he fixed on was unable to outrun him. No animal could escape Rash's speed and Rostam's lariat together. The lion Rostam threw his lariat and its noose completely wrong. Again, the lion Rostam, he is like a lion, threw his lariat and its noose dropped over the brave ass's head. Then he lit a fire with the point of an arrow and piled thorns and scrub onto the blaze. And after he had killed and skinned the beast, he cooked it in the flames. He needed neither a table nor cooking pot, but simply ate the flesh and threw away the bones. He removed Rash's reins and let him wander in the meadow there. Then he made himself a bed of reeds and trusted in the safety of a place where he should have been afraid. He is quite confident in his own skills and in his own security. But the reed bed hid a lion's lair, and no elephant dared disturb the reeds nearby. So without knowing, because he had not cared for scouting the area before making himself a bed, what for, I might ask? Why are you going to scan the area or scout or try to, look for things that could potentially kill you or severely harm you? You don't need that. You don't need for that. You're Rostam. You're fine. Everything's going to be okay. Oh, Jesus. When one watch of the night had gone by, this ravening lion returned to its lair. He saw a mammoth warrior sleeping among the reeds and a horse awake and standing in front of him. "Hello, Batters," he said to himself. "First, I must bring down the horse." Yes, this is the lion speaking. The lion speaks. Important. It's a supernatural lion. Supposedly, it's like a very big beast and fierce and, yeah. He said to himself, "First, I must bring down the horse if I'm to get my claws on its rider." He charged toward Rash, whose spirit flared up like fire. Rash brought his front hoofs down on the lion's head and sank his sharp teeth into his back. Rash is biting the lion. It's like, "Oh yeah? I'm fighting you because I'm not scared of you. Come and get it." He threw it down onto the ground, tore it to pieces, and rendered the savage animal harmless. When Rostam woke, he saw that this lion's world had been indeed become dark and comfortless, and he said to Rash, "You are an intelligent animal. Who taught you to fight with lions? If you had been killed, I could have ridden to Mazandaran with this heavy mace and helmet and this bow and lariat of mine. If you had woken me, I would have made short work of your combat with this lion." Okay, first of all, rude, ungrateful. Rostam, Rash should save your ass. You should show a little bit more of gratitude. Would that kill you? I mean, you're a prince. You know what gratitude looks like. You've experienced it throughout your life. But second of all, like, hello there. Second of all, we're going to overlook Rostam's rudeness towards his horse. But how amazing is that? Rostam was sleeping out like a log, and Rash was the one confronting the lion. He pressed down into his head with his hooves and beat the body of the beast and shredded to pieces only with his mouth. Rostam and Rash, they are very similar in spirits, birds of a feather flock together. That means they're very much alike, and they are both warrior-like spirits and brutal, because who on earth would think it's a good idea to fight a lion with teeth and hooves? Anyway, that is for the first trial, and as you see, it's a trial that is mainly physical, combat trial, and we are going to move to the second one. When the sun rose above the mountain summit, Rostam woke uneasily from a sweet sleep. He rubbed Rash down, put his saddle on him, and prayed to God. A hard road lay ahead of him, and he had to go forward, unsure of what he might encounter. Rash's legs became weary, and his rider's tongue was afflicted by the heat and his thirst. Rostam dismounted, and with his lance in his hand, staggered forward like a drunken man. He can barely walk because he's so thirsty and exhausted. He looked for some way to save himself and raised his face to the heavens, saying, "Just Lord, you bring all pains and difficulties to an end, and if my pains are pleasing to you, my treasure is amassed in another world." That dramatic? Okay, alright, you're only thirsty, man. Chill. I travel in the hopes that God will have mercy on King Kavuz, and that I will be able to free the Persians from the clutches of the demons, according to God's command. They are sinners and abandoned by you, but they worship you and are your slaves. Many of their mammoth bodies have been bruised and broken. They are weakened and maddened by thirst. As you are, Rostam. Then Rostam fell on the hot earth, and the flesh of his tongue was split open with thirst. Ow! Oof, that shot is painful. At that moment, he saw a ram with fat haunches running in front of him, and he thought, where does this ram find water for himself? Surely, this is God's mercy, to show this animal to me in such a moment. He gripped his sword in his right hand and, invoking God's name, rose to his feet. Holding his sword, he followed the ram, leading Rash by the reins with his other hand. The ram led him to a stream, and Rostam turned his face to the skies and said, "Whoever turns away from the one God has no wisdom in him. When difficulties hem us in, he is our only source of help." Then he called down blessings on the ram and said, "May your pastors always be greed and cheetahs never consider you as prey. May the bows of any man who shoot arrows at you be broken and his arrows lost, because Rostam has survived through you. And if it were not for you, he would not be thinking of his shroud and preparing to be the prey of dragons and wolves." Something I really fancy about Rostam, or something I really find funny about him, is that he speaks of himself in third person. I find that amusing. I have no idea what that's for, but he is one of the few characters in the Shāh-nāmeh that does it, and I think it's hilarious, speaking about yourself in like a third person way. Let me tell you about the ram a little bit. So this trial was a trial of faith. Sip of water. This trial was to prove Rostam's blind faith on God, because he continued walking in this very heated plain, no water source at least at sight, and he still believed and prayed to God to find him some water source to not die. And then he didn't see something interesting in here, is that he did not see, not a magical fountain sprouted from the earth, like out of thin air. There was not a fountain or a lake or a stream by him. Rather, he saw a ram, and the ram in Iran has a powerful connotation. It is one of the 10 shapes of the Yazata Berefragna, which is the Yazata of victory. I mention him like a million times per stream. I swear one day I will speak thoroughly about him. I'm actually looking forward to that. But the ram is also a symbol for power, royalty, and most importantly, it is a sign of the divine glory or far. The ram appears in many symbolical clothes, especially during the Sasanians. We can see those like the twisted horns of these rams in many patterns in clothing, in crockery, in vessels. We can also see rams in textiles. It's quite a popular motif that represents, as I say, kingship and the glory. Rams and lions are allegories of the zodiac constellation. I know Rostam sometimes identifies Hercules. does anything of this make sense? It does. So, all right, how to put this? Rostam is a hero that goes on and about completing certain number of labors in order to achieve prosperity, to be renowned, and to fulfill his destiny, which is basically being the hopes of the whole Iranian land. So it's of importance that Rostam and Hercules are paired up, because they're kind of similar. They're both heroes. They use brutal force to overcome most of the obstacles. They're not that bright in the head, if I might say so. I don't know. I'm not like close pals with Hercules, but I do know Rostam and I love him. But he's sometimes a little bit short-sighted when it comes to using dialogue to solve situations. He prefers speaking with his fists. Not condemning that, just highlighting it, something he does. However, Rostam and Hercules are very different in the ways that these heroes, they come from very separated literary traditions. They come from different contextual and historical moments. And the background behind it, hello therapies, how are you? And the background behind their stories is different as well. Through those elements we can find in common, yet I would not say they're exactly the same. I really think so. And about the ram and the lion being allegories, so a constellation, in this case, the ram addresses it's like a big chain where all the links are connected through the background of Zoroastrianism and the background from Central Asia, because Rostam's story comes from Central Asia or a background. It was super popular there. In fact, in the satrapy of Bactria, there is this palace in a place called Panzigert. And in Panzigert, there are these walls painted with the story of Rostam. And you can see these combats and you can see this episode. So that speaks, and this is before, this was painted before the Shāh-nāmeh was written. So that gives you a glimpse, an idea of how popular the story of Rostam was. And in this story, you can see sometimes a ram and sometimes you can see another animal that accompanies him. This animal represents Far. And Far in here takes the shape of a ram. And this is a motif that Sasanian kings use super often, like quite a lot. They were represented, like they represented the glory bestowed upon the kings with a ram. And I just think it's fascinating when they use animals to convey this kind of symbolism and to convey these meanings, because how powerful to them, to their eyes and to their understanding, how powerful animals must have been for them to give them something as fundamental as the glory that legitimizes kingship. I'm just amazed. And as well, this also could serve as an example that sometimes God, you pray in the Shāh-nāmeh, God does not give you exactly and immediately what you request. Rostam just wanted water, but instead of making a fountain appear from thin air, what happened is that an animal came across Rostam's side, and then he interpreted that as a divine sign of he must not give up, he shall not surrender to his thirst, he must continue believing that the ram is going to lead him to a fountain, and that's what happens. So here, what Rostam's been tested about is faith, sacrifice, and what's the word I'm looking for? It's like decision, but not quite. Willpower. That was the word. His willpower to continue believing that God has indeed a plan for him, and well, he drinks to his heart's content, of course. I'm pretty sure he bathed in the water because he was so warm that it was like, you know what, I'm going to take a quick bath in here. And then he lifted off Rashad's saddle and washed all his body. You see? And washed all his body with the clear water so that he glittered like the sun. So he takes a bath. And he also bathes Rasha, which is something very nice if you ask me, because of course your whole sea is also very, very hot. How beautiful. Oh. He glittered like the sun. Oh, I love Rasha and Rostam. They are my favorite pair, like Rider and Ride. Oh, I love them. When he had drunk his fill, he turned his mind to hunting. His quiver was full of arrows, and with his bow he brought down a wild ass with a body as massive as an elephant. Rostam has something in common with me, and that is that we are both hungry most of the time. We are. Yeah, indeed, yeah. He stripped it off its hide, and when he had lit a fire, he dragged it from the stream and cooked it in the flames. He fell to his meal, tearing out the bones with his hands, then went back to the stream and drank copiously again. He was now ready to sleep and said to Raksh, "No fighting with anyone tonight." This is really fun to me. Do you have pets? If you do have pets, don't you speak to them and lecture them? Because we, my family, we have a doggy, and we scold her quite often because she's very naughty, and we lecture her and we tell her off. So just imagine a person roughly 185 centimeters tall, 1 meter 90 centimeters tall, very tall, speaking to a horse that's possibly at least 30 to 50 centimeters taller than him, which is glittering in the sunset light because he recently had a bath. And imagine the warrior telling in this tone this to the horse: "No fighting with anyone tonight. If an enemy appears, wake me up. Don't look for a confrontation with any demon or any lion, understood?" And I can really imagine, as a pet owner, I can really imagine Rostam talking to Raksh. I could just see it in my head. Then Rostam lay down and slept with his lips sealed, and Raksh wandered here and there, cropping the grass until midnight. And here is where we start one of the most famous episodes of Rostam's trial. Habd Khan. It's a little bit difficult for me to say. A dragon from which no elephant had ever escaped appeared on the plain. Its lair was nearby, and even the Deevs were afraid to cross its path. Of course they were. It's a bloody dragon. As it approached, it saw Rostam asleep and Raksh standing awake, alert as a lion. He wondered what had lain down there in his sleeping place, because nothing ever came this way. Neither Deevs, nor elephants, nor beasts. And if anything did come, it didn't escape this dragon's teeth and claws. It turned towards Raksh, who trotted over to Rostam and woke him up. Rostam was immediately alert, ready to fight, but he gazed about him in the darkness, and the fearsome dragon had disappeared. In his annoyance, Rostam chided Raksh for waking him up. "Why do you wake me up? There's nothing out there. Go back to sleep." As is if you only knew. He slept again, and again the dragon emerged from the darkness. Raksh stamped on Rostam's pillow and pawed the ground, and once more Rostam woke. He sprang up, his face shallow with apprehension, and gazed about him, but he saw nothing except for darkness. He said to his kind, wise horse, You should sleep in the night's darkness, but you keep waking me up. Why are you in such a hurry for me to be awake? If you disturb me again like this, I'll cut your feet off with my sword. I'll go on foot, dragging my lance and heavy mace to Mazandaran. See, I'm going to leave it for when I finish, but this is one of the reasons I don't like Rostam. He's an ungrateful brat. And he's a brute. How is that a reaction that's acceptable? So a horse, your companions are waking you, and what you say is that, "Oh, you do this again, I will cut your feet off." Really, dude? Like, really? That's your solution to things? Cutting animal feet off? Anyway. For a third time, he laid his head down to sleep, using Raksh's body as his mattress and bed covers. The fearsome dragon roared, his breath seeming to flicker with flames, and Raksh galloped away, afraid to approach Rostam. Because that's the thing, now Raksh is scared that Rostam will be furious with him if he wakes him up again. But at the same time, there's a bloody dragon literally in front of his nose. He must do something. His heart was split in two, fearing both Rostam and the dragon. How of an animal, how of a brute you have to be for a horse to be debating whether he's most scared of a dragon or you that are his owner. This is Rostam. This is the hero. Everyone praises the Shāh-nāmeh. Should we show Badger thing? Oh my god, no. Oh my god, no. Terrible behavior, if you ask me. But his agitation for Rostam urged him back to the hero's side, because Raksh is loyal. As is them. He neighed and reared up, and his hoofs pawed violently at the ground. Rostam woke from a sleep, furious with his horse, but this time God produced a light so that the dragon could not hide anymore, and Rostam made him out in the darkness. He quickly drew his sword, and the ground flashed with the fire of combat. He called out to the dragon, "Tell me your name, because from now on you will not see the world to be as you wish. It's not right for me to kill you without my learning of your name." The fearsome, "Hello, Christian," the fearsome dragon said, "No one ever escapes from my claws. All of this plain is mine, like the sky and air above it. Eagles don't dare fly over this land, and even the stars don't look down on it." It paused, and then it said, "What is your name? Because your mother must weep for you." The hero replied, "I am Rostam, the son of Zol, who was the son of Sam, of the family of Narimon." Then the dragon leaped at him, but in the end he could not escape from Rostam, because when Raksh saw the strength of its massive body bearing down on Rostam, he laid back his ears and sank his teeth into the dragon's shoulder. Rostam is alive. First of all, because Raksh was all the time warning him about the dragon, and second of all, because he stopped the dragon from attacking Rostam by biting into its bloody shoulder. How brave is Raksh? How brave is that horse? Jesus! It's amazing how much bravery and loyalty can just one horse display in just a single episode of the Shāh-nāmeh. I love Raksh, and you should too. I'm just saying. Finding someone more entitled than Rostam. You know what? Like what? Even if you ask me, yes, they are. The real hero is always the horse. Always. Raksh tore at the dragon's flesh, and the lion like Rostam was astonished at his ferocity. "Now you treat your horse better, or I am going to be the one cutting your feet off, Rostam Azizam." What was I? Rostam smote with his sword and lopped the dragon's head off, and poison flowed like a river from its trunk. The ground beneath its body disappeared beneath a stream of blood, and Rostam gave a great sigh when he looked at the dragon and saw that all the dark desert flowed with blood and poison. He was afraid and stared in horror, murmuring the name of God over and over again. He went into the stream and washed his body and head, acknowledging God's authority over the world. He said, "Great God, you had given me strength and intelligence and skill, so that before me deeps, lions and elephants, waterless deserts and great rivers like the Nile are as nothing in my eyes. But enemies are many, and they yet are few." And when he had finished his prayer, he said that Raksh mounted and went on his way through a land of sorcerers. Excuse you for a little bit, Rostam. I mean, cool that you acknowledge God's power, definitely, and that you are grateful to him for this supernatural strength that he has bestowed you with. But dude, your horse, the one you were yelling at 5 minutes ago because he woke you up, he saved your life multiple times. First he killed the lion, now he was the only reason you survived the dragon's attack. And don't you have something to say to the horse? Like, thank you, good job, you saved my life, I love you, I appreciate your company. Nothing, really. You go and spend some time praying and being grateful to God, and you have not a little kind word to spare for your horse. Butcher, I've never hidden my priorities and my my preference and my likenesses here. This is the reason I don't like Rostam. Seriously, like, am I the only one seeing this? How much of a not nice person, because I don't want to swear, there is a kid-friendly channel, how not just entitled, but how rude and ungrateful you have to be, because it's not that Rash killed the dragon and Rostam was not there to see it. He was amazed at the fierce and at the ferocity Rash was fighting with. Nothing, like not a word to dedicate to the companion that has saved your lives twice. Maybe it was part of his job. No. I am Team Rash in here. No, I just don't agree. He should get something. He should definitely get something, some credit for this. Some treats, fresh carrots, a rub in the belly, a rub between the ears, a kiss, a hug. Never treat your friends like Rostam treated his best friend, what supposedly is his best friend. Anyway. And that was the third trial. And just putting aside for a bit how much I dislike Rostam as a character, just for a little bit. See, she's on my side. She's on my team. Poor Rash. Yeah, putting aside how I feel towards Rostam and his ungratefulness, there is something very interesting in this part of the poem, and it's not just that the dragon is able to speak, which is amazing, because it's how the poem presents this supernatural entity in the shape of a dragon. When Rostam asks who they are and who their name is, the dragon replies saying that they own the plain, they own the land and the sky and the stars, and he's so terrible and so feared that absolutely no elements dare to put like a set foot within their dominions. And later on, when the dragon lays defeated and with his head cut, Rostam in his prayer acknowledges that only God is the only force commanding and presiding over absolutely everything. This is a way of contrasting two ideas, of being too, a little bit pretentious and a bit paid off of yourself. A little bit, and let me just find a proper word to say this. Yes, I'm looking at a thesaurus. Yeah, it's a little bit when you really are full of yourself, because the dragon was full of himself, that you do not acknowledge the way this world works. Remember, this is a Muslim book written under a Muslim rule by a Muslim author. So the main authority, and the only authority actually, is God. But the dragon oversees that, does not consider God to be almighty, and does not consider anything but their own power to be superior to the rest of the world. And they even venture to say that they own the land and the sky they're living in. This is in contrast with Rostam's position, is confronting two ideas, and ultimately what the poem is saying is that you should acknowledge that in the end, at the end of the day, the supreme deity, in this case God, is the only element that's legit above everything, including ourselves, including our time on earth. When Rostam is praying, he turns to God, and as many other characters of the Shāh-nāmeh have done before, he acknowledges their power, their force, and their plan is just set in stone, and he must obey it. This is the first three trials. We're going to see the fourth one, which is actually one of my... I like this one a lot. And I'm seeing... Today's stream is going to be a little bit shorter because I need to bounce in not so long. But I want at least to read to you the fourth trial, because it's one that I like quite a lot, because we don't see these figures often in Persian literature up to this point, and then they start appearing. And yeah, let's just go to the fourth trial. Rostam rode for a long time, and when the sun went down in the sky, he saw a landscape of plants and trees and running streams, as if it were a garden belonging to a young man. He saw a stream that glittered like a pheasant's eye, and next to it a golden goblet filled with wine. Interesting. There was also a roasted chicken and bread with salt cellar and candied fruits nearby. It was a feast for sorcerers who had quickly disappeared when they heard of him approaching. So we have magicians. I don't know if you've seen this, but I made a video quite a while ago speaking about magic in medieval Iran, and how magic was perceived, because it's quite, the duality of the situation is quite interesting. It always depends on who is performing the magical acts, deeds, and the reason behind it. Because, for example, the mythical kings, Kayumars, Dahmuras, Hoshang, Jamshid, Fereydun, they all had magical powers. Do you remember that Fereydun even turned himself into a dragon? Those powers are quite okay. They're okay, and they're not judged. They are even described as gifts from God. However, when all the characters perform magical deeds, it is frowned upon and severely judged. For example, Zahog, the demon king with his snake sprouting from his shoulders, like the king of Yemen when he convokes a deep slumber over Fereydun's kids, when Diva Sapid himself performs magic, that is considered to be forbidden and prohibited. So in this case, we could say that sorcery was condemned in medieval Iran. As we see here, supposedly, there was a gathering of sorcerers that fled just when they heard that Rostam was approaching, and they left everything behind. They didn't even take the chicken with them. What is that about? Take the chicken. I'm pretty sure it was crispy and it was juicy and ready to eat. And but anywho, since everything's just left there, Rostam thought, all right, I might as well get my teeth into that. Rostam dismounted and lifted the saddle from Raksh's back. He was astonished to see the chicken and bread and sat down beside the stream. He lifted the goblet filled with wine, and next to it was a lute, as if the desert were a hall that had been made ready for a feast. Everything was ready for a feast. They fled. They left because of you. Apologies. And Rostam picked up the lute and began to play it, composing a song about himself as he did so. What kind of person sings about themselves? And I know... Hello, buenas, Ros, how are you? So yeah, Rostam picks up the lute and starts playing. And when he composes a song, he quite cocky of him, don't you think? So he just starts singing about himself. How, like, that's bold of him. Like, don't you think? It's like, it makes me cringe a little bit because, you know, when you see someone picking up a guitar, for example, and start singing, how do you come up with a song about yourself on the spot? I don't know. It's something that makes me cringe. It's something I'm not... God, he's a little bit cocky. Yeah, I'm trying to find a word in Spanish for this. I'm not finding it. I'm gonna take it too long for this, but yeah, he's a little bit of a... He's full of it. He's just full of himself, like absolutely full to the... He's filled to the brim with... How do you say it when you got too confident about yourself? You know, Rostam is a person that's too confident. A little bit creidillo. Yeah, how do we say creído in like... he's a big-headed person. Yeah, vanity is definitely he's it's like he's big-headed. Yeah. No, definitely he's paid off himself. Definitely he's paid off himself. You could see how. And do you want me to read you the song? Because it's written in the poem. I have it. Do you want me to read the song for you? What he sings about himself? Oh my God, I'm so eager to do this. I'm not going to sing. I'm going to recite it. I'm not going to sing. But, oh my God, he makes me cringe so much. I don't like this. Anyway, this is the song of Rostam, who's been given few days of happiness by fate or heaven. He fights in every war, in every land. His bed's a hillside or the desert sand. Devs and dragons are in his daily play. Devils and deserts block his weary way. Fate sees to it that perfumed flowers and wine and pleasant vistas are but rarely mine. I'm always grappling with an enemy, some ghoul or leopards always fighting me. Dude. He's still... Yeah, it's like no one prints like a stone, no one hunts like a stone. Na, 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 na. Oh my God. How's that? I knew the lyrics of this song. No one's slick like Gaston, no one's quick as Gaston, no one's next as incredible fake as Gaston's, for there's no man in town half as manly. Perfect, a pure paragon. You can ask any Tom, Dick, or Stanley, and they'll tell you whose team they prefer to be on. It's raining. If you can't always if it sings, oh my God. I think we can put Rostam's name in here. All right. No one fights like Rostam, does as light like Rostam. In a wrestling match, nobody bites like Rostam. When I hunt, I sneak up of my quiver, and bestows the field say a prayer. First, I carefully aim for the liver, then I shoot from behind. Is that fair? I don't care. It just clicked in my head how much Rostam and Gaston are actually similar. Oh my dear Lord. Oh my dear Lord. It's just like when it says like in a wrestling match, nobody bites like Rostam, like Gaston, I mean. Oh my god, they're practically the same person, aren't they? I'm just gonna be singing this for the rest of the evening, am I not? No one's slick as Rostam, no one's quick as Rostam, no one's neck is as incredibly thick as Rostam's. Like, yes, oh my god, I'm gonna take this one out. Rostam is Gaston. I just had a revelation. That needs to settle in. Wow, like I know, like parallelisms between Disney film and Persian literature. That must be such a fun thesis to write. I'm not going to write a second thesis because I've gone through hell once. I'm quite okay. I'm suffering the consequences of having a PhD. Yes, I'm Dr. Plumas now. Whatever. I sold my soul to some deep when I started that. Not going to go down that path again. Yet. I need to find these kind of parallelisms. That would be so much fun for a stream, wouldn't it? Like adapting Disney songs to Shāh-nāmeh characters. Oh my god! You just gave me the best idea. Oh, I need to find time to do this. Anyway. No one's slick as Gaston, no one's quick as Gaston, no one's neck is incredibly thick as Gaston. I need help. So Rostam is singing, which I'm going to assume he's singing with the melody. Can I actually pull this off? This is the song of Rostam, who's been given few days of happiness by fate or heaven. It doesn't quite fit. It doesn't. But I could make it fit, but not now. Basically, he's singing about how great he is, how amazing and incredible his persona is, and he doesn't have an abuela, like we say in Spanish. Definitely not an abuela needed here. But he keeps on singing and singing, and his song reached the ears of one of the sorcerers, a witch, a female sorcerer, who disguised herself as a young girl, as beautiful as the spring and lovelier than any painting. She came to Rostam, full of tints and scents, and sat down next to him and questioned him. Rostam silently gave thanks to God that on the plains of Mazandaran he had found this feast and wine, and now he had found a beautiful young wine stewardess too. He didn't know that she was a villainous sorcerer, an Ahriman disguised in spring's colors. He placed a bowl of wine in her hand and praised God, who is the author of all good things. But as soon as he mentioned God and his kindness, the witch's face changed. Her soul had no comprehension for such things, and her tongue could not utter such a praise. She turned black at the sound of God's name, and when Rostam saw this, as quick as the wind, he looped his lariat about her, and before she was aware, had trapped her hair in its coils. He said to her, "What are you? Tell me, show me yourself as you are. Show yourself. Step into your power." Yeah, I mean, I'm quite a big Disney fan. So basically, Rostam, tu dejarana. Basically, Rostam asks the witch, like, presses on her, being like, "Who are you? What are you exactly?" And there was a withered old woman in his lariat's coils, ugly, deceitful, and vicious. Rostam slashed her in two with his dagger, and the other sorcerer's heart were terrified when they saw this. If you check out the, actually, no sé, Ros, if you're available, could you just pop quickly on the chat the video I made about magic in ancient Iran? My post a clip I made in the chat. Well, of course. Sure, and you can post it on Twitter if you want. I mean, I am likely to be a meme. All right, thank you, Ros. So if you see what in here, Rostam performed a magic spell without him knowing. Because in Islam, the power of the word is one of the most powerful against spells and against bad eye and against some curses. Sorry, I was trying to find the word in my head. Against curses. And this is because the word of the revelation, the word contained in the Quran, is considered to be sacred and so powerful. It is literally full of power. Oh, you might have to send that one to No Soy Ros, because in here only my my moderators can put links on the chat. As I was saying in that video, I explained that a little bit further, but just for you to know, what gave Rostam powers to understand this person next to him was not a normal human being, not a beautiful young lady for sure, was the power of reciting God's name. There is something, I thought you meant posted it somewhere. Of course you can. There is something in the way the witch is built up and how she behaves that makes her ears and her whole body react to God whenever they're mentioned, and that has a physical effect on her because she turns black and her disguise fades away. She cannot maintain her powers any longer, and there's something super interesting because throughout the Shāh-nāmeh, when you see that they recite, oh my god, all right, that's a long clip. Thank you, Rose. When you see the Shāh-nāmeh that they recite the name of God, they actually performing that as a protective spell and as a formula to ward evil off. Something to bear in mind. It's actually super interesting if you ask me. But yeah, Rostam just completed his first 4 labors out of 7. The 5th, 6th, and 7th are actually quite intense, so I'm going to leave them for another stream so I can fully dedicate time to explain them and to cover them with you. But first we had Rash. Actually, it was not Rostam, it was Rash, the one who did the first and the 3rd one. But who am I to protest? I'm actually a person to protest. I have a PhD on Persian literature. Come on, give the host some credit. We have first the encounter with the lion, then the wandering about to find water, then we have the dragon, and finally we have the witch. And if we need to take something out of this stream, is that Rostam and Gaston are most likely to be the same character, which is something I don't know if I love or hate, because it puts me in quite a position, because I love the idea, but I dislike the 2 characters too much, and you saw me singing for absolutely no reason. Give the host some credit. Seems like it looked great in a t-shirt. Yeah, probably. And a little t-shirt with that. But it had to be, it should be Rash. Like, if you were going to say, give the host some credit, what about, let me show you. Wait. Let me show you. There is, no, wait. There is an image. I think it will go perfectly. Wait a second, I need to show you. I'm gonna put in full screen. See, this is an illustration of this episode. And you can see here how it is, how it is Rash, the one who's doing all the work, like the hard work. You can see here how he's biting. This is a brutal fight. I love this one. I do love this one. You can see how it's him, the one doing all the hard work. And here, look who we got. Sleeping tightly. Out like a log. We have here Rostam. So I think if you were to make a t-shirt out of this, if you want it, this, for me, this will be the perfect illustrated folio for that. The nerve, the audacity of you saying ugly things to Rash as you are just living to your heart's content, and he's literally here saving your life, you ungrateful brat. Oh, God. And we don't have a song about the horse. Do you hear, Rostam? Exactly. And Rash just doesn't go around beating their own drum. He's not just tooting its own horn. He just does it. He doesn't want the credit for it. Thank you so much, Rostam. May I have the link to the image? Sure, you might. How proper you are. There you go. Yes. This was made in 1531, if I'm not mistaken. No, before, like 1515. I think. And it's currently at the British Museum, I think. No, where this is. Oh no, this must be in the museum, either St. Petersburg Museum. It has two entries in here. It was acquired by the British Museum, but is it currently in the British Museum? I actually don't know. Yes, cheers to her. She's brilliant. And you know what? She has the cutest pets, because I'm really sorry. Sometimes I sneak a little bit about your profiles, and I don't know if she has it anymore, but she had this lovely, super cute rat called Coffee. And I just feel my spirit is with that little rat, because I love rats. I really like mice and rodents. Not as much as Bob does, because he really loves them. But I saw that she has this hat. I don't know if Coffee is still in. I don't know if Coffee is still among us, but I love that little mouse could only just think of eating nice. I just love that so much. I'm not spying on you. That was literally the first thing that showed up on your profile, and I wanted to see if it was you this whole time, which it was. So it was called Coffee, because I take that you have many, yeah. Or coffee, or just, I don't know. I mean coffee, like the drink. Maybe it was a completely different name when I heard coffee, because caffeine, but and I don't drink coffee. Why would I hear that? I should have heard tea or something like that, but it was not tea. I mean, there's no way I could have mistaken the name for tea instead of coffee. If you're talking about me, Alicia, is that true? Then you share a name with someone that follows me on Twitter for quite a long while, and she has the same name as you. Like, literally the same nickname. And I thought it was you. Oh, wow. That's such a big... I swear, it is the same nickname. And that's the reason I mistaken her to be you. Because, that is so funny. Oh my God, the two of you should meet. The two of you should meet. Oh, wow. That is such a sweet thing. So apologies for that, but there is a person that follows me on Twitter. I'm talking about years. Like, she's been following me. We will call it, no, it's another one. Yeah, the rat one. Yeah, the rat owner. It's a person that's been following me, like, for so long. Literally, for years now. And I know of her because she has many pet rats. And I really like them. It's so cute. I follow you and I know you from there, but that's not my name. That's impressive. I don't know. Oh, wow. I'm not going to share her profile or anything because, privacy. We're very respectful of that. But it's just a person with the very same name. I don't know if I should give that away, but I think it's pretty comprehensible why that clicked on my head like that. At least I feel it's quite comprehensible. Like, it's the same name. Oh my God. Amazing. I'm just amazed at this. It makes sense. Yeah, of course. Yeah. This is just, imagine there's another Plumas around and you interact with these people in person. It's like, oh my God, that's such a funny thing. So you follow me on Twitter too? Interesting. Which one is the evil twin? Maybe they're both the evil twin. All right, so you follow me on Twitter. Then I don't know who you are. I mean, I know now, but I thought you were this other person. Oh my God, this is so funny. This is so funny. Kudos for this person. I don't know if the other person ever comes to to Twitch, but this is the evil twin and the Jinn twin. Oh my gosh, she's a twin. I think the Jinn then. I don't know, because if the other person has pet rats, those are animals that certainly prefer the company of the Jinn, because they would not be like a usual animal to have as a pet. So I'm exactly like you right now. So possibly the Jinn twin is the other one. The Jinn is the one in the company of the rats and rodents. Yeah, no, I'm definitely surprised. Oh my God. I don't know how to find this person. I'm just gonna look for her, and then I just repeat myself continuously that this is not the person that comes to my live streams. But what were the chances? Wow. Truly impressed. Anywho, but I need to bounce now. As I told you, this was going to be a little bit shorter. But thank you for coming. Right? Thank you for coming to this live stream. It's been my most pleasure. I really like this part of the Shāh-nāmeh we're reading. And thank you for joining me as always. Thank you for coming to this live reading out loud sessions. And next time we are going to get into the matter, because as I mentioned, the 5th, 6th and 7th trial, it is wow. I think probably they are the best known episodes from the Shāh-nāmeh. Like, at least if it was a top 5, they would certainly be at the top 5. As a community, we should have our own chapter in the Shāh-nāmeh. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Maybe when we finished it, like in a million years that is. Maybe when sorry. It's a hiccup. Hi, Ologo, I didn't know you were here. Hi. And Plume is singing. What else do we need? Well, certainly, I really do appreciate a compliment, and I take it, but you did not need me singing, and that is something that certainly you did not need. Thank you. Thanks to you, Degar, for coming. And I hope you have a wonderful week ahead of you. Again, thank you to my patrons. Our patron family is growing, and that warms my heart and soul so much. I'm just very happy about that. Make sure to follow the links on the social media and blah, blah, blah. I'm really sorry that I mistook you for somebody else. I apologize for that. That's the reason I should not take for granted any identity of my just identity. But I think I'm entitled to this one. Like, I had it, like, it was a close call. It was a very close call. What were the chances? Very little, but it was a close call. If you ever fancy telling me who you are on Twitter, please do, so I can acknowledge your person and yourself as you are, and not by anyone else's identity. All right, so that's everything on my behalf. Thank you, Bachar, so much for joining the live streams. As I always tell you, create, explore, and have a lot of fun. Until we see each other next time, I bid to you, Khuda Hafiz!